Yeah. They'll hang in there still. Anyway, this is episode 6 of Tommie Frazier's Husker Nation, and this week we're talking about the that got loud. We're talking about Indiana, Nebraska. At least to start with.
Yeah, at least to start with. You know, it's one of those. Hey, it's good to be 6-0 right now.
It is fantastic to be 6-0.
You know, was it pretty? No. But it's good to be 6-0.
Well, I think there's a lot unlike the previous game with Illinois, I think there's actually a lot to talk about this week with Indiana.
There is. I mean, you look at the game, you knew Indiana was going to come in and play Nebraska well. As a matter of fact, most of the sports writers in America picked Indiana to beat Nebraska because it was their homecoming and it was at home, and it was Nebraska's first road game in the Big Ten this year on the road. And quite frankly, Nebraska really hadn't played well on the road in the Big Ten.
Well, before I even start talking about this, let me make sure everybody knows what they're watching. This is, I already said, Tommie Frazier's Husker Nation, and I am the co-host, Dan Powers, and of course I'm sitting with two-time national champ. Oh, is that thing fluctuating?
No, just the colors on it, but I mean, it's good.
It sounded like it was going up and down for a second. Anyway, I'm sitting next to Hall of Famer, two-time national champ, Tommie Frazier.
In the house.
All right, so going on to what you were just saying. Well, actually, before we even get to Indiana, before we even talk about 6-0, we were talking just briefly about a Big Ten Pick'Em challenge that we've been doing with Pat and JT from Q98.5. And I go down and talk once a week with those guys, and they talk a ton of smack on Twitter. But after this week, I think we're now 5-win streak in a row.
Five Pick'Em streak in a row.
And its score now is Team Touchdown Tommie, which is myself, you, Bailey, which does another podcast, and then Houston Alexander. We are 6. We have 6 wins total, and then Team Pat and JT is Pat, of course, and JT and Donna Cat, which is a Twitter parody account that has been doing pretty well for them, and then Twitty, which is their producer, and they have won 1 week. So it's 6-1. We are kicking that butt.
We need to take them to Pick'Em school. How to, and I bet you they just pick because of the uniforms.
Oh, the pretty uniform. That's definitely what Pat's doing, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure he's looking at the pretty colors and digging on that. So
he liked the candy cane uniforms that Indiana wore this weekend.
I'm sure he did. He's into housewife TV shows and the whole thing. Like, style is important to Pat, so I'm sure that's how he's picking it.
Hopefully he ducks his head when he drives by my house from now on.
That's actually pretty good.
You don't want me to see his face driving through the neighborhood, does he?
No. And this week, it's not going to change any. The lineup for the Big Ten games, I think there's a couple of interesting games, but Wisconsin and Iowa, things like Nebraska and Purdue is definitely not the interesting one. But there's a few interesting ones. I don't see the streak going anywhere.
No, and I think the Wisconsin-Iowa game is very intriguing because I think it's in Iowa.
It is in Iowa.
And so I think this is a very intriguing game, and selfishly, I would rather see Wisconsin win it. Two reasons why. One, that way it puts every other team behind Nebraska, except Northwestern, 2 games behind us in the division. Yep. But we already had a win over Northwestern. And 2, you want Wisconsin to come in with a victory. You don't want them to have 2 straight losses because when you do a team like Wisconsin with 2 straight losses, you never know what you're going to get. They're going to be ticked off. They'll be ready to play. So,
yep.
So that's the reason why I want Wisconsin to win this game.
Let me throw you another interesting game for this week that I'm sure Pat and JT are going to mess up. Indiana versus Northwestern.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna tell everybody what I'm leaning them towards the end of the show, but that's a good one.
They're playing in Indiana.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
I think they're playing Chicago and Evansville.
Yeah, they're playing at Northwestern.
Wow,
that's a good game.
And it's gonna slow Indiana down a little bit. Not trying to say which way I'm going because of that thick grass they have there. Wow, that's wow.
And just to throw out one more outside of that I think is another interesting game: Michigan State versus Maryland in Maryland.
I want to root for Michigan State because I just hate seeing a team that has been basically the face of the Big Ten for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
And have a season like this, it's sad. And so I want to see them have good fortune because that Mark D'Antoni, he's a great coach. To do the things that he's done at Michigan State, he's a great coach. And there's just something that is unsettling. I think not they don't have Connor Cook anymore. I think they don't settle at quarterback, and defense is not playing like they used to because they lost a lot of guys. So, but I want to see something good happen for them.
I look at that game and I just say, is this the game that Michigan State finally turns the corner, or is that even going to happen?
I will hope so, but you lose a Northwestern at home the way you did, you lose a BYU at home the way you did, where those teams basically physically pounded you, and that you never see that from a Michigan State team where they just physically get pounded, and so I think there's something going on with the mentality of those players there because Mark D'Antoni, it's not like he's not coaching them up.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
I just think there's just something going on with the mentality of that team.
Well, I'll give a little pointer. I'll just throw it out there for Team Pat and JT because they need some help. I absolutely think that Twitty will already probably do this, even if I don't say anything, but I think they should take Illinois over Michigan.
Illinois over Michigan?
Yeah, I think Team Pat and JT should take that.
Oh, they'll probably take Illinois because of the Orange Crush, the Illini. Yeah, so you guys take Illinois and I'll take Michigan, and I'll give you the points.
There you go. Well, Twitty took who did he take? Rutgers over Illinois this week. I can kind of see that, I guess, but no one else took it.
Rutgers this week over Illinois.
Last week they did.
Illinois won that game, didn't they?
Yeah, and Twitty lost it for them because he took that game.
Yeah, but the thing about it though, Illinois, if you go back and look at the way they played Nebraska, you saw something coming from that squad.
Oh yeah,
because defensively, I mean they were up 16-10. Nebraska had to get a questionable call on 4th and 1 to keep a drive going, which they went down and took the lead. So Illinois, I'm telling you, give that coaching staff 2 more years, a good solid recruit in the Chicago area.
Well, crap, Indiana,
they're going to be good.
Ooh,
they are going to be good.
I mean,
Indiana, I just don't think Indiana. They've been there 5 years now, going on 6 years. I just think there's too many people they have to recruit against in that area there. When you talk about Michigan State, you talk about Notre Dame, you talk about Ohio State, you talk about Penn State, within 5 hours of each other. It's tough to really go in and keep battling recruits.
Well, when I talked to was the defensive coordinator for Northern Illinois, we were talking about recruiting, and he says they were constantly, the teams they recruit against is Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, and Iowa. Those are the competitions. They all seem to recruit very heavily the same people
because they know they're not going to get the top players.
No.
And so that's why you see those guys beating each other, or one's not going to step above the other one versus the other way. You see Nebraska, they're going out the same guys as the Michigan and the Ohio States and the Michigan State and the Notre Dames and the Alabamas. Why? Because in order to be where you want to be in January, you got to go there and have players just as good as them. You can't be afraid to go in a recruit's house, a 4-star, 5-star, and recruit against Michigan or recruit against Ohio State and say, we're going to lose this battle. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But if you get your handful, your fair share over a 3 or 4 year period, you got something going.
Well, those teams definitely are intriguing to watch going forward.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's move on. So let's go back and talk about what we were starting to get into, Indiana. So this week, Nebraska played Indiana, and it was not at all the game, at least that I expected. It was a very, very, very much closer game than what any of us hoped for. They started off really strong in the first quarter.
Yeah. I think what I think it was that Nebraska came out on all cylinders. Everything was working offensively. Everything was working, and I think when they blocked the punt. When they blocked the punt for a safety, I think that's when the momentum of the game changed because Nebraska had control of the game,
right?
And then they blocked that punt, and then if I'm not mistaken, that's when they went down and they scored, or did they kick? They kick 2 field goals? They have 8 points in the second quarter. Is how I see it.
They kicked a field goal.
Yes, and so it's one of those deals to where once that block punt happened, then you saw Nebraska pull off the gas a little bit because they felt that they had this game under control, which is not the case. And in the Big Ten, you got to play every game to the fullest because you never know what's going to happen. So that being said, offensively they just got into a rut, And I don't know what it was. I don't know if because the offensive line was hurt or Tommie was playing with a sprained ankle. And I know people are ready to jump on Tommie by the way he played and stuff like that. You know, they're still 6-0. And you're not going to have a great game all the time. And, you know, did he have 2 bad passes? Yes. Did he throw 2 interceptions? Yes. But did he make some throws? Yes. So at the end of the day, you know, offensively, it was disappointing to see them not continue to play well the way they started. Because what was the one knock against this team? They didn't play well in the first half.
Very slow start
and finished strong. Well, they started strong, but then they kind of like, oh, well, we're on cruise control now. And they didn't score another point until the fourth quarter.
No. It was a long couple of quarters.
Yes, and of course you throw a couple of interceptions in that mix too, which hurts drives and stuff like that. But defensively, I thought defense played a great game. You know, they gave up a couple of big plays. What's going to happen? You know, with the fake reverse touchdown but a couple of times with the interception time and through gave them good field position. But defense overall, to me, played a pretty good game, especially with his up tempo offense. Indiana forced Nebraska to play different because they played a quarterback they hadn't seen all year. They changed the tempo up on the game.
Well, they kept swapping out. They brought in, I forgot who it was. They had number 21 out there, and then I think it was the second quarter. Late in the second quarter, they brought out number 12.
Yeah, they brought out Xander Diamond, and he was told that he was a little bit tight guy, but they hadn't prepared for him.
Yeah, he was scrambling out there.
He was scrambling, and he was making things happen. So
what I like though is he was scrambling, and right away he put in. He ran, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 plays straight where he just kept the ball and he ran, and he picked up good yardage. But before they can were able to turn that into a touchdown or anything, the defense adjusted and they shut that down pretty quick.
Right. So I think overall, the thing what you saw was a team that came off of a bye week. You saw they're missing 2 of the top players on offense.
Now was it 2? Well, Ezekiel and Westerkamp.
Well, 3. 3
and Carter.
So you talking about 3 of playmakers on
now,
offense?
Did they have?
And then Armstrong, he's not. You could tell he wasn't 100% healthy. Well, there's that ankle. You know, so with all that, then you get with Neville back in the first play of the game. He goes down again, hurt his knee again.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was just some stuff that happened, and you know, I even told people that Nebraska's gonna win this game. Everybody say, "Oh no," I said, "No, Nebraska's gonna cover." Because I just felt that defensively they were going to do enough to slow Indiana down. Offensively, it's just one of those deals where they're beat up. They are beat up on offense.
Which, going into Purdue, I guess we don't have a bye to recover, but we have Purdue, so hopefully, and we'll talk about Purdue for a few minutes, I guess, in here shortly, but you would like to think that they'd put the team in, let them get their reps, let them stay warm, and then probably pull some of those guys early.
Yeah. The ideal thing that should have happened this week that I know that the coaching staff wants, I know that the offense wants, I know that I want, is that they go out there and they jump out to a 21 or 28 point lead, and early in maybe 35 points, 35 to 14, and then by the middle of third quarter you start seeing them subbing because by the time the game is pretty much under control. And give those guys like Tommie or Ezekiel or if Westerkamp is playing, or if Stanley Morgan's playing, or if I can't think of his name, the wide receiver that always hurt his shoulder. Alonzo Moore's playing. You know, to give those guys a chance to not take a beating for 4 quarters.
So this was interesting. This game with Ezekiel out, I thought we'd see some Wilbon.
No, we haven't seen him since the Chicago. I think he's in the doghouse with the fumble he had versus Illinois.
I'm like, where's he at?
No, you did see a little bit of Trey Bryant.
You got Trey Bryant.
You got Newby. I think right now they're saying Newby is the guy because there was 2 straight games of 100 yards.
He clearly looks like the guy.
So he looks like the guy right now. But would he be that guy? Because you never know how he's going to run against versus Wisconsin. You know how he's going to run against Ohio State.
Well, I didn't know this. Hey, Zigbo actually had 1 carry.
Yeah, but it was but he didn't play much after that because I think the ankle wasn't there.
I didn't expect him to play at all.
Yeah, I knew he was going to play. I thought he had 1 or 2 carries, but I didn't see him much after the first carry.
Trey Bryant had 5 carries for only 1 yard.
Yeah, and I think he has a lot of talent. He has a lot of talent. I think he's just nervous because he fumbled the ball quite a bit early in the season. A couple times he carried it early, and he's realizing this is college. This is not high school. This is college. Those guys are just as fast as me.
What I thought was interesting is, so he had 5 carries for 1 yard, but they brought him in when it was it 4th and 1 or were we at a goal line? They brought him in at a really odd time.
Yeah, I guess they tried to use it for his power. Because he's a strong runner. But, it's one of those deals to where for a young guy like that, the Nebraska has to put him in positions to be successful early. Because if you don't, then what's going to happen is what you get. What you saw. So Nebraska they got to put Nebraska in. Trey Brown, they got to get him opportunities where he can have success early.
I was just surprised by that move. Like, I agree totally with what you said. I just thought with somebody that was averaging almost 5 yards a carry, that you would keep Newby in there when it was important like that.
Right. But once again, Newby's not that hard-nosed down-the-field runner, though. He's more of a jitty bug, find a gap and crease. He's not the one that can just lower his shoulder and go.
I actually thought maybe we'd see Wilbon at that point, even.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he didn't play.
No Wilbon at all. Yeah.
Yes. Something's going on there.
Hell, even Brandon Riley got 3 carries.
Who was that?
Brandon Riley?
I know.
I know. Well, Brandon Riley had a hell of a catch that game.
He did.
You got to
I think that catch set the tone for the game.
It was. And I will actually say, I think there was some skill there because it wasn't popped up to him. It was a low. He had to reach over and grab it.
Nah, it wasn't no skill.
That was pretty nice.
He just kept a high hand-eye coordination. The ball popped right to his hands.
Pretty nice.
You could have made that catch, Dan.
Well, of course I could have made that catch.
Probably not.
However, the guy that really I still, every week, that no one ever talks about, it seems like, that came in big in the fourth quarter was Stanley Morgan.
I said it earlier this year. Yeah. He might be the best potential for Nebraska to have their first true wide receiver drafted in the first 2 rounds. Tell me the last time you saw that. And I know people are going to say, well, Johnny Mitchell. Well, Johnny Mitchell's a tight end.
I can't think of anybody since
Johnny Mitchell.
Yeah,
that's the type of talent he has. And he's a sophomore?
I think he's a sophomore.
And he still has potential to grow. Yeah, he has room to grow. And he's coming out of his shell. You could tell I don't use profanity because I just have kids. But he's telling the coach, give me the damn ball. Let me be that big time playmaker. And he has something about him. He had a little nastiness to him. Like
he does.
Like he's like I think he's a mini version of Odell Beckham.
Oh boy.
And there's
some trouble.
No, but I'm not talking about the taunting and that. I'm just talking about wanting the ball and making plays when you have opportunity to.
Well, he averaged 31. He had 3 catches and he averaged 31 yards a catch.
Yeah. And the one that Tommie threw the one for touchdown, he basically had to come back. That was a bad throw.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody said. Oh, it was a great play. But no, that was a bad throw. He had 3 guys there. He just throwing it. He came back and made a play and made 3 guys run into each other.
It was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Very, very nice play by Stanley Morgan.
And then defense, and then we could talk about defense. They stepped up. Defense, I'm telling you, people, they call themselves Lockdown U or something like that.
Yeah.
They're playing that way. Cause you had the number 1 passing offense in the Big Ten that you were going against, and you held them to 245 yards a game. When they were throwing for 340, they were having 340.
Yeah.
Michigan State didn't hold them down. So that's secondary. If you want to say what is the difference this year between Nebraska's defense this year and last year, the secondary.
Well, Kyron Williams.
Secondary. Chris Jones.
Who
else?
Nate Gary.
Kalu.
I
mean, those guys
had 7 solo tackles.
Yeah, and then that pass interference call he had, that's one of those. I ain't gonna say it was terrible, but that's one of those ones where it's questionable.
Yeah. Did you think? Not to skip back over. Did you think Newby was down that play when the fumble?
Yes. Yes, I thought he was down.
It was interesting. I thought he was down too, but I wonder if if they called it a fumble.
If they called it a fumble, they probably would have stayed a fumble.
It was so hard
because
to
tell. There wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. So that's why when it's that close, whatever call they say on the field, unless you can see a clear-cut version that it wasn't, then they're not going to change it.
Damn, that was close.
It was close because that would have changed the momentum big time.
Oh my God! Yeah, at that point in the game, that would have handed them the ball. It would. I think you're absolutely right. That would have changed the momentum. But the defense, as you were saying, was playing. We had those 2 picks. the defense stepped up pretty big this game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they gave up the big run. The big run on the fake, on the reverse, and all that stuff. I mean, one guy just got out of position. I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't in position. He just got too far outside, and the guy cut up inside, and he couldn't get back in there. And then you had a couple plays here, a couple plays there. But other than that, there really wasn't any big plays.
Yeah, it was a 33-yard run.
That was a touchdown, wasn't it?
A touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, it was the
third quarter.
It wasn't very big plays that they gave up.
And outside of that big play, there was no other scores the third quarter.
Right.
So we were at stalemate.
Yeah, but I just still hate seeing Nebraska with 0 points in the second and 0 points in the third.
No,
I hate seeing that.
And even the fourth quarter, we had the points, but they fought for those points.
Fought for
it
those
was
points.
Not an easy point. But on the flip side, the other thing we haven't talked about is special teams.
You know, special teams is we've always joked about. We've joked about, but special teams needs help. They do, and I understand that coach, he's making almost $500,000, $400,000 a year, and all that. And I'll be the first person to say we need better play out of special teams, because that's going to hurt us in the next couple of weeks if we don't. After this week, I don't think it's going to be too much of a big deal this week. But if our special teams are playing this way versus Wisconsin versus Ohio State versus Minnesota versus Maryland versus Iowa, it's going to cost us some points and may cost us a game. So now's the time we need to get that taken care of. We've been saying it all year that why special what early in the season it looks like a cartoon, as what Mike Riley said, something like a cartoon. And why would you spread punt backed up? I don't get it. Now, I'm not the expert. Maybe they saw something, but even if you are spread punt, you bring everybody tight. You go back to a normal point formation and force them to come wider. But they blocked the ball right up the middle.
Well, we had 3 guys,
and they had 4 guys there.
I mean, it was like, I don't know how we missed that.
Yeah, so that's not me criticizing or anything. That's football. That's X's and O's there.
We had no chance at that one.
And that's that. Now then people say, "Well, he's criticizing." No, I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying X's and O's. You ain't got to be a coach to understand that. That's bottom line. When people want to say I'm criticizing them, fine. But that is, you can ask any special teams coach who does a spread punt. When they're backed up like that, would you continue to say spread? Yeah. And I guarantee you, 9 out of 9 will say, no, we're gonna do a tight punt. I want to say 9 out of 10 because we already know the one coach who's going to spread them out.
I was really shocked by that.
So, I think that one play that changed the momentum of the game.
I think you're right.
I did.
And even on the other side, for returns, personnel had 4 returns, but he really didn't do. They didn't give him much room. They were all over him.
Yeah, but once again, there's ways you can do this. Are you setting up returns to have a return? Are you setting up a return to just have them catch it? Yeah. Just make sure you don't lose field position. Or are you just saying we're going to punt the ball, let them run down, we catch it there? I mean, you got to decide if you want to have a punt return, you got to have a punt return. Because you can't tell me Nebraska doesn't have a talent to 70% of the time the ball's punt to get a return. You can't. Yeah. You tell me that Iowa's punt return team is players are better than Nebraska's this year? I don't see it, but I'm still seeing those guys getting yardage on punt returns. Yeah. You know, they're going to fair catch some, but the ones that were returning, they're making yards. So I think the punt team and the punt return team are the 2 deficiencies that we have, and it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us because those are the ones who are usually on the field the most.
Yeah. Purcell only averaged 6.3 yards a return, which doesn't seem very good. I don't want to criticize because I really don't know, but if we had when you got the talent like him, if he had any blocking going on, I would think you could fall for that.
Well, you saw how he can change the game versus Oregon. Yeah. And people going to say, well, Oregon's not a very good football team. I promise you, Oregon is a better team than people think they are. They just running against teams that are better than them right now. You know, and you look at Colorado. Colorado is a better team than people think they are. Okay? So what do people? Stanford, was it Stanford who put up a buzzsaw again? Somebody, Washington. Look at Washington. What Washington's doing. So the games they're losing, they're not losing to teams that aren't good. Every game they lost this year been to a ranked team. So Oregon is going through that gauntlet that Wisconsin went through, just going through it. Every time they're playing a top 10 team or a top 15 team. They're in survival mode. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. Well, Oregon just on the bad side of things. To me, Oregon is like we were last year.
Yeah,
that's how they are.
Yeah.
And people saying fire the coach. That's a good football coach. He's still. How many games did he win last year? 9, 10 games.
I think.
How many games did he win the year before that? Didn't he take him to the championship game or one game away from the championship game or something like that?
Yeah, he's been there. Yeah, he's been there for a few years.
So,
you're right. Yeah, he took him right to the end.
Yeah, so it's just one of those deals to where people are so quick to fire coaches these days, or say fire a coach because of a bad season. What happened to giving a guy opportunity to get the coach's way out of a job? He did lose. His defense was bad, so he bring in another coordinator, change the whole defense scheme up, so they're not gelling. Now, you can blame that on him, but you got to give him time. Even Purdue, I even say Purdue. They're 1-2 in the conference, 3-3. And they fired the coach. I don't get that. There's still a lot of football left to be played. And I know the AD, the guy who he didn't hire him, so I know he's looking at the schedule and say, well, got Nebraska, don't we play Ohio State? Don't we play this? We're going to lose all, so we're going to have to lose a record anyway. But what are you helping, though? What are you helping by getting rid of the guy right now?
I question what they even tried to accomplish right from the beginning.
What are they trying to accomplish there at Purdue?
Because I think a lot of these schools, Iowa is a good example. I think mediocre football, getting 8 wins. If you can get an 8-win season, I think that's good in Iowa.
The best season they had that one when Joe Tiller was there. I still remember they had a guy who coached my brother in high school back in the 80s, Hope, who they fired, and he went to 2 bowl games his last 2 years, and they fired him. And his record was 22-27. So the question is, what do they want? I don't think they know.
No.
Are they looking for a big-time – what big-time coach
wants
that job? One is recruiting is tough. No one knew about Drew Brees. The offense that they ran made Drew Brees there.
Yeah. Well, everybody's going to have that one player, right? Every once in a while, we're going to luck out, and they're going to pull that one. But I couldn't even imagine walking in there as a head coach because you're starting from nothing.
You're starting from nothing. You're going to start because now what they've done. And I'm not. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be fired or anything like that. All I'm saying is that what makes a difference if you fire him at the end of the season instead of now?
Yeah.
How much difference is that going to make? Nothing.
Yeah.
Because what you basically told the players, we're going in a different direction anyway. So let him finish out. You're going to pay him anyway, so let him finish it out. If you're going to get rid of him at the end of the season, then fine. But don't do it. You still got 6 games left. That, to me, that just makes no sense. And I'll say that for any coach who gets fired in the middle of the season like this.
Les Miles.
They should have fired him last year if they're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, that made no sense.
Made no sense.
3 or 4 games in?
Who was a Florida International or went to Florida schools, fired after 2 weeks of the season, they fired their coach. I mean, come on. Why even start a season if you don't get him, you're not going to let him finish the season? I don't get it.
All right.
That's why I got out of college coaching because there's no loyalties anymore. They're talking about getting rid of Bob Stoops. They're talking about getting rid of Bob Stoops in Oklahoma.
Sure they're freaking out up in Michigan State already.
No, they're not freaking out in Michigan State.
Not yet?
No. I think they understand there's a transition. You had one of the best quarterbacks that ever played in the college football game for 4 years and started. I think there might be some changes on the staff because they did lose their defensive coordinator, I think. So they went to – where did he go? So he went somewhere. Well, he's the head coach at Pitt. Narduzzi.
Oh, yeah.
And so that changed everybody. They still have players, so now you got nice. So that changed. But Michigan State, he's fine. He's done it the right well. The players love him. He's building the program now. He built that program after Nick Saban left it, so he's not going anywhere.
Well, there isn't much loyalty, though.
Yeah, that's one reason why I got college coaching. And trust me, I got calls all the way to 2 years ago about getting back in coaching. No, because there's no loyalty. Look at Ross Ells. He goes to Purdue, be the defense coordinator, and now he's done because they got so. It's just you got to move again. No, it's not worth it. I'm losing my hair already. I ain't gonna lose it no more because of coaching.
All right, let's move on.
Oh, you throwing a flag and you blew the whistle on me. I hear you.
At least I hit the right button this time.
That's right.
I hit the right button. So let me ask you. Instead of Purdue, I thought I'd bring up a different topic. So right now, and I didn't prep you for this, so let's see where this goes. Right now, everybody is questioning where Nebraska is in the big picture. And I know they're 6-0, but everybody's wondering, and I hear it on the radio, and I usually don't listen to a ton of radio, but right. I can't believe the amount of people that are questioning whether they really should be a top 10 team or not.
Right.
Is this team for real? Can they continue this? And let me just flip, and I'll be the alternative. I'll give you the other side why this might be coming up. Is so far Nebraska's played now 6 games.
Uh-huh.
They've only played one team with a winning record, which is Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana's 500. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So now everybody, you heard that. I'm sure this really, actually, ESPN probably really triggered it this weekend. Did you hear College Game Day?
Yeah, but those guys, they say stuff for a show.
They do.
And they're just trying to get a rise out of the people. I think, they say some good things sometimes, say some bad things sometimes. That's just being in what they call a so-called journalist.
Yeah. That is very biased anymore. That is very biased to the SEC or
Michigan or Ohio State. That's why when I don't even listen to Yahoos anymore. I might turn on if I see like a touchy feely story.
Yeah.
About how they did it for the guy from Texas who had the disease and stuff like that. I'll watch that but when it comes down to them, listen to them predict who's going to win a game. They don't know no more than I know. They don't know more than you know. They're guessing just like we are.
Well, let's go.
But to answer your question,
I think you're answering a lot of people's questions.
To answer your question, is Nebraska a top 10 team? According to the people that I vote with, I vote in the NFF, the FWAA polling. Okay, and there's quite a few that vote in there, and they all had Nebraska where top 9, 8, 9. The coaches had Nebraska's where
8, right?
8. So. You mean tell me all the people who vote for these teams are wrong? No. Perfect example. You got Wisconsin, who have 2 losses. They're ranked number 10.
Yeah.
Are they a top 10 team? By the way they play, they sure are. But if you base it off their record, should they be a top 10 team? No. So when people vote these things, they look at the whole picture. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to penalize a team who's winning all the games. Because
I would agree.
Because go back. You got Wyoming they play, correct?
Yep.
They have Wyoming is upcoming team.
They're doing well.
Okay. Oregon. At the beginning of the season, Oregon's supposed to have a good team. They're gonna be a pretty good football team, right? When Nebraska beat them, they was ranked where? 23rd. 23rd. Now, Nebraska can't control what happened to Oregon after they played them.
Yeah.
Because when they came to the game, they were 2-1, 3-1, 2-0.
I think they were 2-0 at that point. 2-0. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, they were. Yeah.
So you can't punish Nebraska for the way, and I know they're going to say, well, strength of schedule. Strength of schedule should be measured by when they played that team. Going back to everyone last year thought Iowa wasn't deserving. But guess what? Iowa won all their games. Iowa won the Big Ten championship. And if you can win the Big Ten championship, that means you're beating some of the best teams in college football.
Yeah.
Now they go out to Stanford and get manhandled out there, but doesn't mean they wasn't deserving of a top 10 team ranking. I'm an old fashioned guy. If you continue winning your games and teams in front of you lose, you move up. Now it's a different thing saying, okay, how will this team match up versus this team if they play head to head?
Yeah.
You can't do it that way because you're not going to play everybody.
There's the key, right? Because I think that's what a lot of people are doing.
That's what I heard on. Well, what if Nebraska played Florida State? Will Nebraska win that game? Or what if this team played?
Yeah.
You can't. It's not what ifs. You got to base it off their schedule and who they play. And if Nebraska, which they're saying Big Ten, supposed to be probably the best conference this year, and if they continue winning,
yeah,
and if they lose 2 games, doesn't say Nebraska's a bad football team. Because playing Wisconsin's a top 10 team, you're playing Ohio State, who's number 2 team. I don't see too many teams beating those 2 teams in back-to-back weekends. So all this, whether Nebraska's a top 10 team or not, I voted them as a top 10 team. Other people voted them as a top 10 team. So they're a top 10 team. Whether you think they're worthy of it or not, that's your opinion.
I think you said it. I think a lot of people are doing the what-if game, and then I think a lot of people are just nervous to buy in just too
They don't have to
soon.
buy in. The people that need to buy in is that team. Is Mike Riley, the coaching staff, and those players. If the fans are down it, then they hadn't bought in. But the only people that really need to buy in with their top 10 team is coaches and those players. And all they gotta do, if they wanna shut the naysayers up, go out there and continue winning. Doesn't it feel good to be 6-0?
It feels fantastic. I'm seeing the opposite. I love where we're at. In fact, I didn't even think everybody was that. I thought everybody else was where I was.
No.
And then all of a sudden, I just heard on the radio a lot of. It's not negative. I think people are just a little nervous. Like, hey, I'm ready to. They're just nervous to go in and say, I think this is top 10.
Look what people saying about Houston. They still think Houston has an opportunity. Houston.
We've had a decade of disappointment, though.
Yes, decade of disappointment. But this, you got to understand, this is, to me, I see a different mentality on this team. I see a team who truly trust each other, who truly are playing for each other. I see a team who's buying into the coaching staff, seeing that they're loved, seeing that they're not going to blow up when the first time something happens. Well, that's what I see. The last 2 regimes that were here beat the kids up mentally.
Yeah, I think if everybody went back and looked at the replays of the sidelines and the stuff that was going on last year, that's how quick we forget, right? We forget about that.
And trust me, people, I'm not a homer. And Dan, you and I talk about it all the time through text, whatever.
Yep.
I'm not a homer. I'll be the first one to say, I think Nebraska might lose a close game at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska might lose a big game, blew by 2 or 3 touchdowns in Ohio State. But for me, how do they show up? Do they go out and compete? Because both of those games are on the road. It's hard to get up and play games like they're on the road.
And I will say, if they play out the rest of the season and they lose those 2 games on the road, and they're decent games, respectable, and they win the other games that we expect them to win. Mm-hmm. Holy shit! There's the E for explicit. But wow, what a difference from last year!
Big difference. They already bowl eligible.
Yeah,
people be happy with that. It's night and day from last year. They needed, in order for Nebraska to go to a bowl game last year to win 6 games. They needed the ARP, the APR, whatever you call it, the academic progress support. That's the only way because they got into a bowl game. They both is Ohio State bowl eligible yet? I don't think so. I think they're 5-0 or something like that.
They are. What are they? I don't know what they are.
I don't even think they're bowl eligible yet. But Nebraska's bowl eligible. So people, that you're going to a bowl game. Be happy with that.
Well,
6-0 is
6-0, and really, my hopes are, and I'm not even hoping high, but I would love to see Nebraska in the Big Title game or the Big Ten title game, which will be very interesting because I think Wisconsin, if we happen to lose to Wisconsin on the road and we happen to lose to Ohio State on the road, then we're going to be tied probably with Wisconsin, and then we'll have the tiebreaker unless Iowa can step up this weekend or.
Either or. Nebraska want to win one of those 2 games.
I'm with you. I think out of the 2 games, I
think they have a better chance winning Wisconsin. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm leaning towards the no side right now because once again you got injuries.
Yeah,
You got on the road.
If they can't get healed,
the last 2 times Nebraska's played in Wisconsin, Madison, gotten blown out. So there's a lot of things that fall into place here.
Wisconsin still has to go to they still go to Northwestern.
Still got to go to Northwestern. They still got to go to Iowa.
They still go to Iowa.
Still
got Minnesota.
This is still wide open. This conference is still wide open. And there's one team that controls their destiny right now. One team, Nebraska. Everybody else is looking for help.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
In what is it, North Division? What do they call it? The West Division?
West.
In the West Division, there's one team.
You keep changing it.
That controls its own destiny right now. And if Nebraska win out, there's nothing anybody can say. If they lose to Ohio State and beat everybody else, they're going to win the division.
All right. Totally agree. All right. I have one Twitter question for you real quick, and I don't remember who sent it because I didn't write it down. But somebody asked, and I thought, hey, that's an interesting question to me, even if I was thinking about it. If you had it your way, and we can erase history, would you prefer Nebraska still to be in the Big 12, or do you like them better in the Big 10?
If I had it my way, I wish it was still a Big 8.
Oh, well.
See, people. I was a Big 8.
What if?
I was a Big 8.
You
know, there's a lot that goes on with that question. There is. You know, you gotta look at financially, and I know it's more expensive for fans to travel now in the Big 10 than it was the Big 12. But football is football. Would you rather be in the Big 10 right now playing Michigan State, Oklahoma, or playing Michigan or Oklahoma? And I know a lot of people say, "Well, I want to play Oklahoma because of the rivalry."
Yeah.
But just look at those two teams. Or whether you want to play Ohio State, Baylor, or Michigan State, Texas. There's no question right now. The Big 10 is a better conference. There's better football right now this year in the Big 10.
Absolutely.
So you can't look at it and say, "Oh, well, hindsight's what." No, there's a reason why Nebraska left the Big 12. There's a reason why Nebraska didn't want to go in the Big 12 from the start. And everything that they said, the administrators from Nebraska said, came true. That Texas is going to take over and run it, and they're going to. And then what happened? Texas took over and run it. If it wasn't for Texas, Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, A&M all still be in the Big 12, in the Big 12, and it'd be a great conference. But one team.
I missed some of those games.
One team screwed it up for everybody. Now you're in the Big 10 to where. Your allotment is looking a lot bigger and nicer than what you would have got out of the Big 12.
Well,
Big 12 can't announce who they're going to expand the conference with.
If anything, I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody else leave.
It could be
Oklahoma.
It could be.
I mean, Oklahoma is a big team that could walk into, I would think, to any conference almost. Now I know there's a lot of logistics and TV viewership and everything, but like. I'm really surprised they stuck around and dealt with this Texas garbage.
Texas is not going anywhere because they got their own TV network.
Yeah, their own network.
Making $30 million a year for the next 10 years.
They're going to have
over 7 years now.
They got to go find some of these other teams and bring them in. They got to go find Tulsa.
It doesn't matter. The Big 12 can't do anything until they're going to have to buy Texas out of their deal to do it. But why would Texas give up that money? And not have to worry about the Big 12 or the office telling them what they can do. I wouldn't give it up. Selfishly, I wouldn't give it up.
No, I don't think they will. I wouldn't either.
Why would BYU give up their network? BYU have their network. Why would they?
That's the
and
one
I
reason
understand the conference alignment, want to be a part of a Power 5 conference. I understand it, so you give up something for that. But at the end of the day, the Big 12 is not the conference that it was last year, 2 years ago.
No.
Top to bottom.
Look at Oklahoma State.
I tell people, look at these conferences TCU, top to bottom. Do you really think the Big 12 is a better conference than the Big 10?
Oh no, I think the Big 12. Not looking, but you think about I think they're more comparable with the Pac-12, and I'm not even sure.
I do too.
I'm not even sure they're better than the Pac-12.
I'm not even sure they're better than the ACC.
Ooh. Well, this season, your ACC is looking
serious. No,
you're right.
The ACC could be probably.
They could be better than the SEC
or they could be better than the Big 10.
Ooh, yeah.
They could. If you look at it from top to bottom.
Which is crazy because no one talked about them, going into the season, and then they've come out.
Look what North Carolina's doing. Look what Miami. Miami's playing a lot better.
NC State.
Look at NC State. Look at Oklahoma. Look at Clemson. Look at Louisville.
Holy, yeah. That division came out of nowhere.
Look at Wake Forest. Wake Forest beat Indiana. I mean, you got to throw the ACC out there. They could be.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is playing well. Now, they lost last week to Syracuse, but they still been up there though. Top to bottom, which conference is the best? You don't look at the top. Nebraska has 4 teams in the top 10, or the Big Ten.
Yeah.
In the top 10. Don't look at that. Look at it from top to bottom. That's how you look at it. And that's how I'm looking at it.
Big 12 still.
Can Illinois beat Kansas?
That's what I was going to say. Can Illinois?
Can Purdue beat Iowa State? That's what I'm looking at. Can the worst team in the Big 12 beat the worst team in the Big 10?
Be interesting games.
That'd be very interesting. But that's what I'm getting at. But to his question, no. If it was me, I would rather be in the Big 8. But I like Nebraska being in the Big 10 right now.
I think at some point these big conferences will start to.
And I'll guarantee you, the top 4 conferences are going to have the top 4 or 5 conferences going to have 16 teams in the next 10 within the next 10 years. Then everybody else is going to be there. And
it's going to be real. Yeah, it's going to get interesting because those teams. Almost going back to what you said about Purdue, that team. It's almost too late. I hate to say it's too late, but it's almost too late for them to start a program and try to build it into something.
Right.
Because these big conferences, and I know they happen to be one of the Power 5, but
they just don't have. They don't have the budget.
Yeah, you got to have big dollars.
You don't have the budget. Why do you think the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Oregons and the Texas? Why do you think? And Texas people say, well, Texas and A&M, they spend a lot of money in their athletics.
Oh yeah,
they spend a lot of money. You got to spend money to attract the top coaches. You got to build the facilities. You got to spend the money on assistant coaches, and then you got to spend money on amenities.
Yeah,
you have to. That's why Baylor was able to turn around, because they started spending money. They understand football is our kingpin here. Football is our driver. So if football is doing well, that's going to draw kids to campus.
Yeah,
enrollment goes up.
Well, I think Purdue actually eliminated 4 or 5 sports last year, and then now, like if they don't have football to help fund those things,
what's the best sport at Purdue right now? Basketball.
Track and field?
Basketball. Basketball. All
right,
they do have a good track program.
I thought that was the thing was track and field.
Basketball. Basketball has always been the best sport at Purdue, even when Gene Katie was there.
But I can't imagine that making there's a cap to that money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can pay good, right? It does well for Kansas, but Kansas is a rarity. There's only so many Kansases out there. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is what it is.
Yep. All right. Any final thoughts today?
Yeah. It's good to be 6-0.
Yes, it is.
I'm just telling people.
It's even better to be 7-0.
People, you can criticize. You can say, oh, they got, yes. Look at Clemson. I mean, then look at Clemson. Clemson was the number 1 team coming in the season. They struggled. They struggled. They go to overtime to win the game at home.
Yep.
Are we better than Clemson? No. But once again, it shows you even the top teams struggle, and they struggle at home.
Well, Ohio State didn't blow away Indiana.
No. Louisville struggled.
Yeah.
At home versus Duke. So people just be happy that Nebraska's played 6 games. 6 up, 6 down.
I'll be really excited for 7.
I will too. It'd be a great day with 7, won't it?
It will be fan-freaking-tastic.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep, but until next week, folks, we'll be back here.
Yeah, and don't forget to go over to iTunes and subscribe, or Google Play, or any other place that you can get this podcast, including, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be on Spotify, if anybody's into Spotify. We're also on YouTube, SoundCloud, all those places. So go there, subscribe, leave us a review.
I haven't done Spotify in a while.
I don't do Spotify because I'm on Apple Music all the time, but people love Spotify.
Oh, do they?
But now they're going to start doing podcasts, and I've submitted this to get early access to be on
one of the
beta, one of the beta podcasts.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, we're everywhere else, and you can always go to Facebook /Touchdown Tommie, Touchdown Tommie over Twitter.
I don't know all of my handles. You know them all. So many of them out there.
It's getting ridiculous.
It is.
It's a new social network or a new website, and you got to keep up with the Joneses.
Yes, well, that's why we have you.
If we don't keep up with the Joneses, then people can't find us.
They're going to say, where are the Joneses?
We are the Joneses.
But until next week, folks.